The rain hammered the cracked sidewalks of Brooklyn like it was trying to wash away the sins of the city. But nothing could erase the blood on my hands that night. I stumbled into the alley behind the old warehouse, my camera strap cutting into my shoulder, chasing a tip about corruption that led me straight to hell. There he was, crumpled against the dumpster like discarded trash, his face a map of bruises and betrayal, the mayor's own flesh and blood, left to rot by the man who'd sworn to protect this town. I froze, the flash of my lens forgotten, heart slamming against my ribs as if it recognized him before my brain did. Jamie Hargrove, 22 years old, heir to a political dynasty built on lies and backroom deals. The papers had buried the story months ago. Runaway son, presumed dead or worse, after coming out to a father who valued votes over love. But here he was, alive, gasping shallow breaths, his blue eyes flickering open to meet mine in the dim glow of a flickering street lamp. "Don't tell anyone," he whispered, voice raw as gravel, blood trickling from a split lip. In that moment, with thunder cracking overhead, I knew I'd burn the world down before letting him vanish again. I'd seen his face before, plastered on milk cartons and faded flyers in the back of bodegas, a ghost haunting the underbelly of New York. Back then, in '92, he was just a kid, 15 and terrified, slipping away from a family gala I'd crashed as a cub reporter hungry for scandal. Our eyes had locked across the crowded ballroom, his suit too big on his lanky frame, my thrift store blazer reeking of cheap cigarettes. He was all wide-eyed innocence amid the champagne flutes and false smiles. And I was 18, already jaded, snapping photos of the elite, pretending their secrets didn't stink. He vanished that night, swallowed by the city's maw, and I'd spent 6 years chasing shadows, wondering if that fleeting glance had been a dream or a curse. Now, kneeling in the filth beside him, I peeled off my jacket and pressed it to the gash on his forehead. "Easy, Jamie. It's Alex. Remember me?" The idiot with the camera from the mayor's ball. His eyelids fluttered, recognition sparking like a faulty wire. A weak smile cracked his swollen lips. "The one who winked." I chuckled, though it hurt, the memory flooding back, my stupid, bold wink across the room, a silent promise in a world that crushed boys like us. "Yeah, that one. We're getting you out of here." He tried to sit up, wincing, his hand brushing mine in a touch that sent lightning through my veins. It wasn't just the chill of the rain. It was the electric pull of something unfinished, a thread from the past unraveling into now. I half carried him to my beat-up Chevy, the engine coughing to life like an old smoker. As we peeled away from the docks, sirens wailing in the distance, cops' arrivals. Who could tell in this corrupt maze? I glanced at him slumped in the passenger seat, blonde curls matted with rain and blood. The mayor's son, reduced to this. My chest tightened with a fury I'd bottled for years. Edward Hargrove had built his empire on the backs of the forgotten, preaching family values while discarding his own blood for daring to love differently. I'd exposed smaller fish before, but this was personal now. We made it to my apartment in Williamsburg, a third-floor walk-up with peeling wallpaper and a view of the East River that looked romantic only in the movies. I eased Jamie onto the sagging couch, fetching towels and the first aid kit I'd scavenged from freelance gigs covering protests and evictions. "Talk to me," I said, dabbing antiseptic on his cuts. trying to keep my voice steady. His eyes, those piercing blues that had haunted my dreams. Search mine. Dad found out. About me. Threw me out like garbage. Been bouncing between shelters. Odd jobs. Tonight, some lowlifes, he owes money to thought I'd make good leverage. His voice cracked on the last word, and something in me shattered. I sat back on my heels, the weight of it crashing down. In 1998, being gay in America wasn't just hard. It was a tightrope over a pit of fire. AIDS had decimated our community. Politicians like his father railed against us from pulpits and podiums. And the streets were a battlefield where love was a liability. I'd lost friends to the plague, to hate crimes, to their own despair. And here was Jamie, the golden boy turned outcast, trusting me with his fragility. "You're safe now," I murmured, my thumb tracing the line of his jaw without thinking. He leaned into it, eyes closing, and in that breath, the air thickened with unspoken hunger. We didn't sleep that night. He dozed fitfully while I paced the kitchenette, brewing coffee strong enough to strip paint, my mind racing through angles. As a photographer for Underground Rags, I documented the rot-eating New York, the mayor's shady deals with developers displacing queer kids into the shadows, the hypocrisy of a man who shook hands with homophobes while his son starved. But exposing Hargrove meant dragging Jamie into the light, and I wouldn't risk him. By dawn, as gray light filtered through the grimy blinds, he stirred, propping himself up. "Why are you doing this?" "Alex, you don't owe me shit." I handed him a mug, our fingers lingering. "Because 6 years ago, you looked at me like I was the only real thing in that room. And because I've spent every day since wondering what if." His laugh was soft, pained, but genuine. "What if what?" I set my mug down, heart pounding. "What if we got it right this time?" The words hung there, heavy with promise. And when he pulled me down beside him, our lips meeting in a kiss tasting of salt and second chances, the world outside faded to nothing. It was tentative at first, then fierce, hands fumbling with wet clothes, bodies pressing close on that worn couch. In the quiet aftermath, tangled in sheets that smelled of rain and us, I held him and whispered the vow into his hair, never again. The days blurred into a fragile rhythm. Jamie healing under my watchful eye while I dodged calls from editors sniffing for the next big scoop. He was a quiet storm. That one, morning spent sketching aimless lines on napkins, his fingers stained with charcoal from a past life of private school art classes, afternoons where we'd walk the bridges, hands brushing in coded affection, stealing glances at the Hudson's unforgiving flow. He talked in fragments, the suffocating weight of his father's expectations, the clandestine hookups in boarding school bathrooms that left him hollow, the night he'd confessed over Thanksgiving turkey, only to be met with a slap and a locked door. He said I was a disgrace, Jamie murmured one evening, as we shared takeout lo mein on the fire escape, the city lights twinkling like distant stars. That I'd ruin everything he'd built. I pulled him closer, my arm around his shoulders, feeling the lean strength beneath his borrowed flannel. He built nothing worth a damn if it cost you. My own scars ran deep, parents who pretended I didn't exist after I came out at 16, hustling through foster homes until I clawed my way into the Village Voices darkroom. Photography was my armor, capturing truths others ignored, drag queens defying rates, lovers embracing in hidden parks. But with Jamie, I wanted to capture something softer, us, framed in stolen sunlight. Yet the shadows crept in. A week in, my mailbox overflowed with warnings. Anonymous notes slipped under the door, scrawled in block letters. Back off the Hardgrove kid, or you're next. I'd burn them in the sink. But the fear gnawed. Jamie noticed. His artist's eye sharp. It's him, isn't it? Dad's goons. I nodded, hating the lie I almost told. We argued that night, voices echoing off the thin walls, me insisting he stay hidden, him pacing like a caged wolf, demanding to fight back. I'm not some damsel. Alex, I ran once. I won't hide forever. His words stung, but in the heat, we collided again, anger melting into urgency, bodies mapping forgiveness in the dim lamplight. By the second week, he'd ventured out, landing a gig washing dishes at a diner in Queens, his khakis swapped for an apron stained with grease. I watched him from the counter, sometimes, sleeves rolled up, laughing with the grizzled cook about bad tippers, and my chest swelled with a pride that terrified me. Love in '98 was a rebellion, every touch a middle finger to the world. We built a life in stolen moments, midnight picnics in Prospect Park, where he'd read me beat poetry under the oaks, his voice weaving magic, lazy Sundays developing film in my makeshift darkroom, chemicals sharp in the air as our fingers intertwined under the red glow. But the mayor's reach was long. One crisp October afternoon, as leaves skittered across the pavement like fleeing secrets, my pager buzzed with a number I didn't recognize. I slipped away to a payphone, Jamie humming in the kitchen. The voice on the line was silk over steel. Mr. Rivera, this is Councilman Hardrove's office. We'd like a word about certain indiscretions. My blood ran cold. They knew. How? A tail? A leak? I slammed the receiver down, racing back to find Jamie pale at the window. A newspaper clutched in his hand, the Post. Front page screaming, Mayor denies ties to disgraced son's return. He looked up. I shattered glass. He's painting me as a junkie whore to save face. Says I faked my disappearance for attention. Rage boiled in me, hot and unyielding. I snatched the paper, crumpling it, but the damage was done. Jamie's shoulders slumped, the boy I'd pulled from the alley fracturing before my eyes. Maybe I should just go. Disappear for real this time. No. The word exploded from me as I grabbed his arms, pulling him flush against me. You're not going anywhere. We're in this, Jamie. Together, that night, as sirens wailed a mournful chorus outside, we made love with a desperation that bordered on violence, nails raking skin, gasps swallowed in the dark, affirming life against the encroaching void. Afterward, spent and slick, he traced the tattoos on my chest, faded roses for lost lovers, and whispered, "What did they take you to?" I kissed his temple, tasting the salt of unshed tears. Then we fight. Like we always have, the tension coiled tighter, days bleeding into a haze of vigilance. I took riskier gigs, snapping candids of Hardrove's fundraisers, inching closer to the truth, laundered money from mobbed-up contractors, funneled through fake charities that preyed on the vulnerable. Jamie dove into my world, sorting negatives by lamplight, his insights sharp as a blade. Look here, the shadows on that envelope. It's the same as the one Dad burned in his study. We were a team now, two outcasts forging a weapon from our wounds. but betrayal lurked in the familiar. My old mentor at the Voice, a grizzled chain smoker named Ray, called me in for coffee at a dive in Midtown. "Kid, word's out you're digging too deep. Hargrove's offering a payout to bury it, and you." His eyes darted. "Guilty." I leaned forward, voice low. "You selling me out?" "Ray," he sighed, ash falling like snow. "Not you." "The kid. Says he'll bring him home if you back off." The lie tasted bitter. Jamie would never go back to that cage. I stormed out, hailing a cab through the snarl of traffic, pulse thundering. Back home. Jamie was waiting, a duffel half-packed on the bed. Ray called. Said Dad wants to talk. His voice trembled, hope and horror warring his eyes. I crossed the room in 2 strides, yanking the bag away. It's a trap. He wants to silence us both. Tears spilled then, hot tracks down his cheeks, and he collapsed against me, sobs racking his frame. I just wanted to stop hurting. Alex. All of it. We held each other through the storm, rain lashing the windows like accusations. In the quiet that followed, I pulled out my latest roll of film, proof of the mayor's ledger, timestamps aligning with Jamie's beatings. We end this, I said, resolve steeling my spine. Not with fists, but with the truth. He nodded, wiping his face, that spark reigniting. For the first time, I saw not the broken son, but the man he'd become, fierce, unyielding, mine. The plan crystallized over stolen hours. I'd smuggle the photos to a trusted editor at the Village Voice, one who'd run pieces on Stonewall survivors and safe havens for runaways. Jamie would lay low at a friend's loft in the village, a drag queen named Lena who'd mother half the queer underground. Promise me you'll be careful, he begged as I kissed him goodbye at dawn, his lips lingering like a prayer. Brooklyn to hell and back, I joked, but my throat tightened. Driving through the awakening city, skyscrapers piercing the pink sky, I felt the weight of our fragile world. The drop-off went smooth, film handed over in a shadowed booth at CBGB's. The editor's nod grave. This'll blow the lid off. Alex. But watch your back. I did. Paranoia sharpening every corner. That evening, as I climbed the stairs to Lena's, a shadow detached from the wall, 2 bruisers in cheap suits. Hard rose muscle. The boss wants the boy, the bigger one growled, cracking knuckles. Adrenaline surged. I swung wild, fist connecting with a jaw. But numbers won. They dragged me into the alley, boots thudding, until a scream pierced the night. Jamie, bursting from the door with a tire iron swiped from Lena's junk pile. Chaos erupted, metal clanging, grunts echoing off bricks. Jamie, a whirlwind of fury, protecting what was ours. One thug went down, clutching his knee, the other bolted, cursing. We collapsed against the wall, panting, bloodied but unbroken. You came back, I gasped, pulling him into my arms. Always, he replied, forehead to mine, the city humming around us like a heartbeat. Word spread like wildfire through the underground. The Voice hit stands the next morning. Mayor Hargrove's empire of lies, abandoning his gay son for power. Photos splashed across pages, grainy shots of briefcases and backrooms. Jamie's sketch of the ledger's code. My byline screaming truth. Protests erupted outside City Hall. Rainbow flags waving defiant against the autumn chill. Voices chanting for justice in a city still healing from its own scars. Hargrove's downfall was swift. Poetic, indictments piling like autumn leaves, his polished facade crumbling under flashbulbs. He called once, voice slurred with whiskey, begging Jamie to come home. Fix this mess. Jamie. Phone pressed to his ear in our apartment, now ours. Truly laughed. A sound like breaking chains. Home, this is home. Dad. With a man who saw me when you didn't. He hung up, turning to me, eyes alight. We're free, but freedom in '98 came laced with thorns. The backlash hit hard, hate mail scrawled with slurs. Tires slashed on my Chevy, whispers in diners branding us pariahs. One night, as snow dusted the rooftops for the first time, a brick shattered our window, glass raining like brittle stars. A note inside, Sodom spawn. Jamie trembled in my arms. The old fears resurfacing. What if it's never safe? I held him tighter, the chill seeping through cracks. Then we build our own safe. Brick by brick. We did. Jamie's sketches caught an agent's. I had a queer art show in Soho. Raw. Visceral pieces of fractured families and reclaimed hearts. His first exhibit sold out. Critics murmuring of a voice born from fire. I parlayed the scandal into a book deal. Shadows of the Steeple, chronicling not just corruption, but the quiet revolutions of love in the margins. We moved to a loft in Chelsea, walls lined with his canvases and my prints, a sanctuary amid the roar. Yet the past lingered, a ghost in quiet moments. On our first anniversary, New Year's Eve, fireworks blooming over the harbor, Jamie pulled me to the roof, champagne flutes in hand. Remember that alley? He asked, wind tousling his curls. Now longer. Freer. I nodded, throat tight. How could I forget? It was the night I found you. He smiled, that boyish grin that still undid me. No. The night you saved us both. We kissed under the exploding sky. The city a canvas of possibility. And in that embrace, I felt the vow renew, never let go. Life threw curveballs, a scare with Jamie's health. Echoes of the epidemic that claimed so many, my own doubts in the spotlight. Imposter syndrome gnawing at success. But we faced them shoulder to shoulder. Therapy sessions in sunlit offices. Pride marches where we'd march hand in hand. Unashamed. Years folded like film strips, Jamie's gallery openings. My TED Talk on queer visibility. Adoptions talked of in whispers turning to plans. Through it all, the core remained that rainy night in '98. Two lost souls colliding. Forging light from darkness. Love, we'd learned, wasn't absence of storm. It was the anchor in its heart. One spring dawn, as cherry blossoms carpeted Central Park, Jamie knelt in our garden plot, tiny, defiant against concrete, planting tulips he'd chosen for their resilience. For the boy we were, he said, dirt smudged on his cheek. I joined him, knees in soil, our hands entwining around the bulb. And the men we became, in that soil, we buried the hurts, coaxing life from pain. The world shifted around us, laws crumbling barriers, hearts opening slow but sure. But our story? It was etched deeper, a testament to the radical act of choosing each other, day after Scar Day. In 1998, I found a mayor's abandoned son. And in every year since, I chose him anew.